It's always fun to talk Eagles football with this guy, and I'm sure it'll be particularly fun now with the team riding a franchise record 10-game winning streak. Making a return visit to Philly Pressbox Radio, it's Eagles insider Dave Spadaro. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Chet, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year when we get there. And what a great Eagle season we're having. 10 straight wins. It's amazing. It's been so, you're kidding? Are you kidding me? It's been so fun watching this team just win in so many different ways. It is really impressive.
I had a hunch you'd be in a good mood today. Dave, we all remember how last season ended after a great start, 6 losses in 7 games, then the so-so 2-2 start to this season. What has changed since early October?
The defense is solidified. It's hard to pin it on one move, but when the Eagles drafted 2 young cornerbacks, everybody kind of went, well, it takes a long time to contribute. We hadn't had a starter since 1988 from the draft class, and that was Eric Allen. Quinyon Mitchell steps in day one. After 4 games, Cooper DeJean replaced Avonte Maddox, and I felt that made a really big difference. And then everything just came together defensively. On the offensive side, I mean, again, point to one. If you had to point to one thing, you'd point to the turnovers. And, the turnover ratio after 4 games was -6. They are now, I think, +3. And they have found their identity. They lean on the run offensively. They're very physical offensively. They've been just a very solid team in these 10 games. And the defense, Jim, I mean, has been rock solid, number 1 in the league. Chet, this group is really good. And, you generally point to good teams that we've talked through the years, 2004, 2017, 2022, those Super Bowl teams. And you go, well, what was the impetus there? Well, 2004, very, very good defense, didn't turn the ball over. 2017, offense was just lighting it up for most of the season. Defense was good. 2022, they led the league in defense. Nobody really paid attention to it until the Eagles had the breakdown in the second half of the Super Bowl. So it's always kind of been a defensive wins games approach, and 2024 is no different. It just, I think, came out of more of a surprise situation. Nick Sirianni at the beginning of the season was the coach that everyone talked about as being on the hot seat. And here he is with the best winning record 4 seasons into his career.
Well, hey, since you mentioned Vic Fangio and the defense, I got to ask you about them. They're number 1 in least yards per game allowed, tied for number 1 in giving up just 17.6 points per game. How much credit does Fangio deserve for the season the Eagles are enjoying?
Tons. I mean, he's taken these generally. Look, they made significant changes to all 3 levels of the defense. Changes on the defensive line. Fletcher Cox retires. Got to bring in the new guys. Let's see how Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter will develop. They've signed Bryce Huff, who has not been as productive, but significant changes. New linebackers, Nakobe Dean healthy. Somebody named Zach Bond comes in off the free agent streets. Afterthought. Quinyon, Cooper at the cornerback positions. CJ Gardner-Johnson comes back at safety, and Reed Blankenship as well. And to put all that together, Vic had to find what each player does really well and then put them in that role. And he's been masterful at that. The way that they've used DeJean, for example, in his blitzing role close to the line of scrimmage, linebacker instead of a cornerback. Bond and the way he's been used, Nakobe Dean, they've turned him into a downhill linebacker. CJ Gardner-Johnson goes and gets the football. Jalen Carter has become, a dominant defensive tackle. And it took a guy who's been in football for 40 years to recognize these talents, make it all mesh. And here we are week after week saying, are the Eagles defense, is it really that good? Well, we'll find out in LA. They went out and dominated the Rams. Well, we're definitely going to find out when we play the Baltimore Ravens and their number 1 offense, Lamar Jackson, and Eagles do it. And then this past week against Pittsburgh, and an offense that was missing a key weapon at wide receiver, but still the Eagles, they shut the Steelers down to nothing. So it's been And then the other thing is it's a really hungry defense. There's no real star. Darius Slay's on the down half of his career. CJ Gardner Johnson, makes some money, but for the most part, it's a young, hungry, prove it to me kind of personnel group back there. And man, they certainly have proven it.
Hey, you mentioned the Steelers game. How important was it after the off-field drama last week to beat the Steelers on Sunday the way they did it offensively, with the passing game looking as good as it did, both Brown and Smith topping 100 yards receiving?
Look, I mean, that felt like that game was never in doubt. When the Eagles came out and stopped Steelers 3-and-out, boom. You could just see the energy from the pass rush. Then they turn it over to the offense, and Jalen's got it going from the pocket. Steelers really concentrated on stopping Saquon Barkley. It was just a great example of a team win. And I think the part of it that was most impressive was the Steelers are such a great organization. They're such a physical football team. You kind of look at them year after year and go, they're really not that good. And then they always have winning playoff seasons. And the reason is they dominate in takeaways. They are good in ball security, and they're the most physical team on the field. On Sunday, they weren't. And the Eagles, at the end of the day, Chet, they are the most physical team on the field. That's something that carries with you at home, on the road, in the playoffs, in rain, in heat, whatever. And, again, they stepped up and answered the bell, and here we are with a 10-game winning streak.
As you noted in your recap piece Sunday night, it was the most complete and most impressive victory of this 2024 season. And Dave, for once, it wasn't the Saquon Barkley show, a ho-hum 65 yards on the ground for Saquon. Now, he needs to average 104 yards a game on the ground over the final 3 weeks of the season to get to 2,000. I know that's not the top priority, but do you think he gets there?
Yeah, I would say that's fine. I mean, the Eagles are still in play for a lot here, right? Number one seed in the NFC, and home field advantage throughout. So they know they can run on anybody. Now, look, I don't know what Saquon's health is. I know he kind of was grabbing at the back of his knee a little bit. I don't know his status. I don't know. The key here is not to have Saquon Barkley reach 2,000 yards. It's to have him at peak efficiency for the postseason. So, but assuming that he is all systems go, I certainly think he averages 104 yards per game. It's interesting. Like, I haven't even really paid much attention to that, because this team is so kind of not in that realm. They don't talk about those kinds of achievements. They just talk about winning games. In today, we spent 5 hours as part of Operation Snowball. Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata for 3 years have put out this holiday album, and the money that they've raised this year, they put toward getting a toy for every child in the Philadelphia school district. So I spent a lot of my morning riding in the back of the bus with Lane, and it's just all like really hardcore football talk, and like very matter of fact of like how this team's focus is on just winning on Sunday against Washington, winning the division, and not going, beyond that mentally. And I think that's the way a championship team thinks. Last year, Chet, there was that thought that, man, coming off the loss in the Super Bowl, can we be that good again this year? Jump out to 10-1, but you didn't feel that 10-1 was good football. 10-1 collapse at the end of the season. I don't think this team, and maybe they were wandering a little bit. I don't know. Maybe they were looking ahead a little bit at 10-1. I don't know. But you lose two leaders in Kelsey and Fletcher. You bring in Cam Jurgens. You have Jalen Carter grow into this monster. Like, it's just such. Maybe they're too young to really know at times, in a weird way. Maybe they're too unheralded defensively. Zach Ballin certainly doesn't care about being 12-2. He just wants to play great football on Sunday and beat Washington and keep it going. And I think that's kind of the way they are. I feel like Saquon, in the normal context of the offense, should shatter 2,000 very easily. I also know he's also the focus of everyone. And Washington's defense, Dallas's defense, the Giants' defense, not as good as what we saw on Sunday against the Steelers, but just win, baby. And if 2,000 comes along, I mean, Saquon Barkley has been so much fun to watch, hasn't he? It's been incredible. it's been incredible to see him just revitalize his career and revolutionize the offense with so many big runs.
The Eagles will be favored in their final 3 regular season games, assuming the games mean something, and it looks like they will. They're 3.5-point favorites this weekend down in Washington. The Commanders aren't yet guaranteed a playoff spot even. This could be a battle.
I would expect it to be a battle. Generally, Eagles-Washington is a tough game, as it was the first time the two teams played. Washington has Marshawn Lattimore back in the lineup. He'll be a sticky cornerback for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. The Eagles beat Washington earlier, so there's that revenge factor. Washington was dragging at that point in the season. They hadn't had a bye week. You could just see that they just kind of looked a little bit lethargic. That will not be the case on Sunday. NFC East game. They're playing for the playoff hopes, as you mentioned. So I think it'll be a great battle, and I expect a very, 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 very tough game.
Dave, we're running out of time, so let's finish up with a quick trio of questions, 3 and out, as we call it. Number 1, which Eagle has been the most pleasant surprise this season?
I would say Zach Ball, linebacker. Who knew he was an All-Pro?
I had a hunch you'd say that. I had the graphic ready to go. Number 2, which team will come out of the AFC and hopefully play the Eagles in the Super Bowl February 9th?
I believe it will be the Buffalo Bills. I think the Chiefs have been playing with fool's gold a bit too long this season. Great run, but boy, Josh Allen, he looks like he is so difficult to stop if they don't turn the ball over too many times in the AFC Championship game.
Finally, Dave, I don't ask you many personal questions, but about 16 months ago, you and this lovely lady, Angela, got married on the 50-yard line at the link. What went into that decision to tie the knot there? And was it as cool as I imagine it would be?
It was her idea. I wasn't as into it when she proposed it.
Wow.
I went to, I just thought, I'm like, because I'm more of a low-key guy. That was not low-key. We asked the Eagles. We couldn't get a date. We initially had it for the previous summer. Ed Sheeran knocked us off. So we did it. And it was, Chet, every bit as cool. She's every bit as beautiful as you can imagine. I don't know how she said yes. I know the term out kicking your coverage, and I'm the poster boy for that. So we're very happily married with our 1.5-year-old pug named Leon, and it's been great. Thank you for asking.
That is
awesome. It was an awesome wedding venue.
I have no doubt. Dave, this was a blast again. Remind our viewers where they can find your articles and interviews and your other social media stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of like not super into the game. PhiladelphiaEagles.com, of course. I do a lot of television in the area. I do Fox Game Day Live every Sunday and on Channel 29. Instagram, The Eagles Insider. I got off the Twitter train. So there you find me. But just, where you find me? You find me wherever the Eagles are. Every event. I'm usually in front of the camera doing all the live hosting and so forth. So I am 28 years in now, 28 seasons in now, Chet. I used to be the young guy, now I'm the old guy, and I'm loving every bit of it.
Let's keep February 9th open. I think you'll be in New Orleans. I'm hoping.
Oh, God, from your lips. From your lips, please.
Eagles Insider, Dave Spadaro. Thank you, Dave, and go Birds.
Thank you, and go Birds.